cannabis industry jobs are on the rise, fueled by the Great Resignation. Despite what seems to be a labor shortage that's affecting a large swath of the economy, one industry that isn't seeing the negative effects of the Great Resignation, in fact, is seeing a net positive of as a result of kind of the labor shortages, is the cannabis industry. And it's a purely employer brand related kind of issue. And the positive effects that the cannabis industry is seeing is completely an employer brand phenomenon. But what we're seeing is this bifurcation in the workforce. You're going to see a bifurcation between kind of two class systems almost. You've got the workers who will want to compete or look for the highest paying job, and they're the ones who are going to go for their kind of price focused. And then you've got the swath of the workforce that is going to go for the sexiest industry, the industry that they didn't think that maybe pre-pandemic they would ever have the chance to pursue, but now that the workforce is rethinking what it means to be at work and rethinking kind of their values around work and how at least the priority that it plays in their life, they're going to go for a role at an industry that maybe they didn't think that they would before, but has been on their mind. And the cannabis industry, at least the legalized cannabis industry, fits this completely. I mean, this is one industry that regardless of your viewpoints on it, there's excitement and there's kind of sexiness around it, and it's been growing for the last few years as kind of cannabis has become legalized. And then you've seen kind of stock market kind of implications around kind of the hype and the fall and things. So there's been a lot of news around the industry, and as a result it makes it an exciting place to want to go and pursue a position. You can almost liken it to a Tesla, in the way that they can kind of drive PR and drive kind of media coverage, and then that typically translates to attractiveness, or at least it's one pillar of the attractiveness when it comes to an employer brand. And so a couple stats on the cannabis industry, despite kind of everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people, a lot of industries really struggling on the hiring front, the employment in the cannabis industry is up 32%. And they've added 77,000 jobs. There's now 321,000 workers, U.S. workers, who work in the legal cannabis industry, which is more than EMTs, it's more than paramedics, it's more than aircraft pilots, it's more than electrical engineers. So you can kind of see how the mentality of kind of a portion of the U.S. workforce, in deciding to go into this industry, it's almost like kind of that new frontier. Where you could almost kind of make your own path and make your own fortune, so to speak. So there's definitely employer brand play here in terms of what it means to work in the cannabis space, and kind of why we're seeing at least what we're seeing in the macroeconomic conditions that we're looking at, why cannabis as an industry is seeing that positive results. And so what do we learn? What do we take away from this as an employer brand practitioner? I think that we've got to, if we're in a industry that competes, or where we need retail workers and we need workers, and we're competing at a certain level of price, or at a certain wage level, we've got to make an honest assessment or do an honest analysis of what our company is, our positioning, our status in the industry that we occupy, kind of our core competencies, and really look at how as an organization we can appeal to workers who are probably looking at one of the two pillars that we talked about earlier, either price or the attractiveness of the industry, and say, all right, where do we position ourselves as an organization to make sure that we can attract the level of talent that we want to attract. And so it's very important, especially in a world where the labor markets are as tight as they are, to be very clear about your company's positioning, and to be very clear about what your employer value proposition is to the market, and then tweak that such that you can compete with, for example, cannabis on the sexiness side, Tesla on kind of the excitement side, to compete with, I don't know, maybe if you're working at like kind of the hourly worker who's looking at the $12 to $15, $18 an hour price range. Like, how do you compete with an Amazon and just be very honest about who you are as a company, what you stand for, the perks that you can give to the marketplace, and from there develop a base with which you can build the kind of other benefits and perks that make you more attractive. But once again, it kind of goes right back to making that honest assessment. And sometimes it's a good idea to get a third party look at that. Sometimes, when you're too close to your own company, you're too close to your own product, it can be hard to be objective about your positioning. So sometimes it's a good idea to get a third party to look at your company and give you that honest assessment. But it's important in this day and age to understand which pillar you're competing in, and then to make sure that your brand is optimized for that competition.